Judges, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Marcia Holland. I will be acting as the chief judge for today's hearing. I'm in Missoula, Montana. I'm an attorney. I do most of my legal practice in Alaska, but I'm moving back to Montana. I now teach the law school here, and I just finished a semester of teaching on Zoom, so I'm pretty familiar with this format. So I'll just ask you one thing: if you can make sure you speak up or your mic up, so that we all can hear you, because we're in a boardroom as opposed to not at your computer. That would be appreciated.
Good afternoon. My name is Becca Steinhoff. I am in Casper, Wyoming. I am the executive director of the John P. Elbogen Foundation, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing from you today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Barnhart. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm an attorney, and I work at the Indiana Attorney General's office. I serve as the chief counsel and the director of the Consumer Protection Division, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say today.
Introduce yourselves, and if you have a teacher or a mentor or a coach.
Hi, my name is Abby Walton.
I'm Megan Hodges.
I'm Reed Raven.
I'm Grace Harper.
We are Unit 6 from Sheridan High School. Our mentors are Mike Thomas and Kim Ferguson.
Thank you so much. And hopefully it's not too much of a surprise, but Unit 6, question 1 reads as follows. Solitary or nasty or how has the human condition changed over time? And how is that change reflected in the expectations of government? Should the principles of natural rights or classical republicanism guide policy changes designed to improve the condition of all people? What are the most pressing domestic and global challenges facing Americans today and in the future? To address them. You may begin.
We see the world through the lens of all our experiences. That is a fundamental part of our human condition. As the government of Vermont, Madeline Coonan said, experiences shape our human conditions, so with constant changes our world gives us, it equally forces new experiences upon us.
So it is only right our human condition would change as well. As our government's true purpose is to serve and protect the people, these changes in our human condition should be reflected in our governmental expectations and its policies. Secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity are key words that exemplify the essentiality of natural rights in our Constitution. And although our panel acknowledges the argument for classical republicanism, we believe that John Locke's theory of natural rights should guide policy changes to improve the conditions of all people.
Ultimately, the Roman Republic designed classical republicanism to work for like-minded and similar people. However, in such a diverse country where citizens of all races, ages, and ideology come to live in the land of the free, great disparities in wealth or differences in culture, religion, or morals causes conflict among people rather than encouraging them to work together for the common good.
Natural rights articulates that community problems should be motivated by self-interest because people's opportunities should not be limited by the situation or group into which they were born in. With natural rights guiding our policies, it gives people the right to choose.
Article 1 of the Wyoming Constitution states, each competent adult shall have the right to make his or her own healthcare decisions. This supports Locke's theory of natural rights because Locke argued that in a state of nature, all people are free, equal, and rational. Conclusively, this proves that policy changes based on Locke's natural rights theories can help improve the condition of all people, seeing that each adult has the ability to make their own healthcare decisions.
It can be proven that the most pressing domestic issue today is the political divide in our country. Arguably, the last time our country was united was during the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, where the country's mantra was, united we stand, divided we fall. This is when Americans came together and stood in support of one another and flew flags outside of their homes.
Today, many news sources and social media act as an echo chamber or filter bubbles where Americans tend to only watch news sources relating to the political ideology they stand for, which only furthers this political polarization.
From the Black Lives Matter protests in summer of 2020 to the Capitol riot in January 2021, Republicans and Democrats are more divided along ideological lines, and partisan antipathy is deeper and more extensive than at any point in the last 2 decades. During his presidency, James Madison once suggested that the perfect solution might be an arrangement whereby each sheet of newspaper was printed on one side by a press representing one party, then printed on the other side by its rival. That way, readers could not avoid both sides of every question, and the truth would always have a fair chance.
Our panel suggests making a national news panel consisting of people from all moderate sides of the political spectrum, coming together to write and make an unbiased news source with the goal of only presenting the facts to ensure that the bias in other news stations is not as clearly shown, but that Americans today are no longer fighting over a middle ground.
In addition to our domestic challenges, global issues affect not only Americans, but citizens of the world. The problem of nuclear warfare has been relevant since the U.S. developed the atomic bomb and how it continues to threaten the world today in countries such as Iran.
As the United Nations describes the possible consequences of these dangerous weapons, one can destroy a whole city, potentially killing millions, and jeopardizing the natural environment and lives of future generations through its long-term catastrophic effects. With tensions high in the Middle East regarding nuclear weapons, our panel agrees with President Joe Biden's plan to not offer sanction relief to Iran to comply with the 2015 nuclear deal.
By offering sanction relief, there is no security in making sure they comply, but instead gives them a bigger advantage economically since they have no more sanctions to deal with. Conclusively, proving that by continuing to address Iran head-on will prevent a nuclear catastrophe that would undoubtedly create utter chaos.
We are now ready to take your questions.
Thank you. You noted this idea of polarization as one of the most pressing issues, certainly domestically, that's facing us. That's creating tensions between the federal government and the state governments as well. So what is the balance between the federal government and the state governments as we consider advancing the human condition for all?
Can you rephrase the question, please?
Sure. So polarization at the national level is leading to tensions between the federal government and the state governments. How do we strike a balance between the federal government or the state government, or what is the role of the federal government versus the state governments in promoting or advancing the human condition?
So I think that our human condition is widely changed due to healthcare reasons, and one consideration is Article 1 of the Wyoming Constitution says that each competent adult has the ability to make their own healthcare decisions, and I think that ultimately it should be left up to the states through the 10th Amendment.
You mentioned the echo chamber and the problem with having an echo chamber. How do you address that problem if you have a situation where the social media companies are responsible for the content that you see? What's the solution?
Well, as of right now, there is no privacy laws like enabling to stop like social media companies from overstepping their boundaries. And this can be seen through the cancel culture right now in our social media platforms. And social media like platforms such as Twitter can ban accounts, as they did recently during his presidency, Donald Trump. And this can be seen as like an overstepping of the First Amendment. So as of right now, there's not a clear boundary set. And that's why I think collectively we can agree as a panel that there needs to be set up like privacy laws to stop this from happening.
So I'd love to talk about this topic more because I'm really fascinated with it, but I'm just going to switch gears a little bit. There have been times where the federal administration has looked at global issues as the most important things to be looking at. You mentioned nuclear war, and other times when the government has looked at local or national issues as the most pressing problem. Where do you think you would like the government to make that decision during your lifetime?
Personally, I think that the government should focus more on our own nation, just because currently our national debt is over $28 trillion, which is the equivalent of every U.S. citizen being $85,000 in debt. And so we don't really have the financial means to support a foreign policy that focuses on other nations' problems.
In addition, giving a specific example, when looking back in time to specifically the Jimmy Carter administration, when we have taken a more humanitarian and involved foreign policy, we have seen extreme failures such as Operation Eagle Claw and the Iranian hostage crisis of 1970.
Thank you.
You talked about the human condition through the lens of opportunities and experiences that shape what's going on right now in the United States. So should the United States encourage or discourage trade with countries where humans have different experiences, or perhaps those in countries where they are guilty of human rights violations?
Well, we believe that the United States, as we've seen in the past, for example, a current day event is Myanmar or Burma, which they're having problems right now with their government and the military taking back. And so I feel that the United States tends to pick and choose. And so I think that we should allow our people to continue to trade with other countries. But in our foreign policy aspect, we cannot help everyone because we do not have the financial means.
So should we focus our attention more abroad, or should we focus our attention nationally? You mentioned the national debt, but where should we direct our attention? What requires most?
So under the 2015 nuclear deal, while Iran was found to have 15 times allowed the enriched uranium, we believe that Iran is a huge threat today to domestically. So while we think that the national debt is a huge issue, we think that we should have a balanced budget act, which should help control our national debt. But I think that we should both focus on both issues instead of just one or the other.
I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with my colleague and say that the most pressing issue right now is the southern border, because as stated in the preamble, the government is obligated to protect the people, and so we need to rein it in foreign policy and look at what's happening in our own country.
I was just making a note. So let me ask you this. What role does education play in trying to create a less polarized United States? Right now, the United States is quite polarized. Do you see any role for education to help us get more back to
Yes, so right now, our We the People team, every single one of us is enrolled in the AP government class. And so through this class, through We the People, we've been able to learn so much about different political parties and their ideologies and their beliefs. And education plays a big role, because through this we're able to see all the different points of view, and we can realize that not every other political party is the enemy, and that we all have something in common.
Adding some evidence to this is that 30% of both sides of the registered, like Democrats and Republicans, are considered extremists in their view and view the other side as a national threat to the America. So I feel with education, that provides the opportunity to see the middle ground, which we talked about in our essay, which is important to stop this horrible polarization that's happening right now.
Thank you.
You talked in your essay a little bit about how experiences shape human conditions, and now we've been talking about education. So I'm going to ask you to link those experiences with education. So we might suggest that not all educational experiences across the country are the same. So what role does the government have in ensuring educational experiences that help advance our human condition?
Well, connecting back to the southern border, as the government has to protect the United States and the people of the United States, the government also has an obligation to provide every citizen of the United States with education. And we feel that although everyone may not get the same amount of education, that everyone still should be obligated to get an education.
Why shouldn't folks get the same amount of education? Shouldn't we have a blanket approach to make sure that there's a ceiling to the amount? Okay.
I'm sorry. Job student.
Thank you, judges.
Thank you so much.
Just wait.
So just a little feedback. feedback or just some comments at my notes. And I like how you decided that locke is the better model than perhaps Hobbes, that you looked at your own state of Wyoming and looking at making decisions regarding healthcare, and also just the idea of cancel culture as being something that is impacting your lives right now and will continue to impact your lives. And I like the fact that there was a disagreement among you in terms of whether we should be looking at global, local, or national issues, because all of those are really hard and important questions. So I appreciate that you have a difference of opinion among your entire team as to those three different areas where the United States needs to put some of its effort. So thank you so much for that presentation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I would echo a lot of what Marcia said. Your essay was well prepared and easy to follow. I too have to say that I appreciate the shout out to the Wyoming Constitution and looking at some local relevance. I think that adds a different lens to the argument that is appreciated. Also, like this idea of striking the middle ground and thinking about how that connected to identifying polarization as a challenge that's facing us domestically. I think you answered the questions in a way that you allowed just one to respond, but I would have been curious to know if there were others who had some insight to add some depth to some of the questions that we asked. But in general, really appreciate how you thought through some of the challenges and arguments in your essay and then connected those into the question responses that you made. So thank you to you and to your teacher and coach and sponsors. You are well prepared and enjoyed hearing from you this afternoon.
Thank you.
I agree with all the feedback. What really impressed me was your ability to work as a team. Right, you're a team, and in terms of helping each other out, and that was very impressive. I also appreciate your candor and acknowledging the other side of the other argument in your opening statements. I think that you're well served by doing that because these are not easy questions, and the answers aren't easy as well. So I certainly appreciate you doing that, and also, while you worked well as a team, I appreciate your disagreement, right? So from a standpoint of we need to hear a balanced view, we need to hear different approaches, and you certainly did that as well. So thank you. Very well done.